I just got 98% on my private pilot's written examination, but there's some things that I wish I had known when I started studying that could have gotten me 100%. Let's talk about it. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Late Departure. My name is Adam, and as some of you know, this is my continuing journey to become a commercial airline pilot, starting from a little bit of a later age than most people here. Probably more than 15 years later than most people, but still giving it my all. And you know what? I hope it shows by the fact that I got a fairly decent score on the private pilot's written test there, so 98%. The passing grade, of course, is 60%, and I was really trying my best. I studied very hard, and the way that I had studied as well, it was really a lot of material to memorize all of the different contents that I needed to memorize. It was quite tough. And in the beginning, I tried to set up sort of a review system, but there was just so much content that I ended up just trying to push through the content as quickly as I could. And that being said, as quickly as I could still took me a few months. So it was definitely a lot of content to get through, especially since I was learning on pilottraining.ca, which has a lot of great content, but a lot of people also mentioned that, there's a lot of extra content. So in addition to just PPL knowledge, you also get CPL knowledge, all kinds of really useful stuff for flying, which I love because, I don't want to just become the bare minimal, learn just the smallest amount that I possibly can to pass. Flying is a life or death thing. Despite the fact that it's really fun and it's an amazing thing to do, it's a very dangerous thing to do as well. So if you don't learn your stuff really well, it could potentially be something that could end your life in the future. And for me, I love my life. I'd love to continue living. And that being said, I want to study my best to make sure that I'm the most competent and safe pilot that I can possibly be. That being said, though, I do wish that I had done some other things to make my study process easier. And it's something I will be doing to make my study process easier in the future as I go on to do the commercial pilot's license and the instrument ratings and multi-engine ratings and all of that kind of stuff. And that is doing some effective spaced repetition. And that's something that I started out making a memory palace to try to make a good way to remember all of the contents. I did that for the entire meteorology section. And it was really difficult to kind of stick to that routine of going through the memory palace every single day. And the sheer amount of content that I had to memorize just made it really difficult because for a memory palace, you need to create narratives and pictures and ways for you to navigate through the memory palace to remember all of the different concepts that you're trying to remember. And while it's extremely effective and it's something that, I felt worked quite well, it just wasn't fast enough to keep up with the pace I needed to keep to learn all of the contents in the private pilot's license. And there are lots of things, everything from navigation to meteorology to air law, general knowledge, all of those kinds of things. There's so much information that to make a memory palace for quite literally thousands upon thousands of items was very challenging for me. So what do I wish that I had done when I first started studying this, and what am I going to do in the future? Well, when I got towards the end of my private pilot's license ground school training, I started making flashcards on Anki. And Anki is a really great program. It's a program that lets you make flashcards for spaced repetition. And when you do a flashcard, you can choose a date, and then that flashcard will come up again at a later date, depending on how easy or difficult the card was. And now these are really easy to make, and I wish that I had been making them since the very beginning of my ground school training. And as you can see on the screen here, I have a lot of different categories, a lot of different decks, and I can go into these decks and I can practice various cards, and I can go in. So you can see in some of these here, I have 17 to review. It tells me how many I need to review here. If I go into my private pilot's license written test and I click study now, I can go through, and it was very easy for me to just take questions and from really anywhere. I had some questions from the official Transport Canada guide online. There were questions just randomly found online on various flight school websites for private pilots written test prep, questions from pilottraining.ca, which again, a lot of those questions are also from the official Transport Canada written examination. And I took all of those and just created a database. I had a few separate categories, as you can see from the decks here, specifically so I can really focus on certain areas. And then, of course, I have the exam test prep, which is just a whole bunch of questions all mashed together here. So if I go into here and click Study Now, I get a card here. So which statement is false? Going through here, Class C airspace may include control zones, but not terminal control areas, blah, 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 blah. I'm pretty sure it's the first one here. And so when I click Show Answer, I get the information. And then I paste something like this just to remind myself of sort of what the original content was that I needed to memorize and review and read for this. Really, you can take whatever you want for this. This is just your own private collection. It's not like you're going out and selling this or anything. So you can use, I had some ones where I took like some screenshots of some images and I would just put them in here, and then I'd be able to refer to them about whatever it is, again, air law, or if it was something like aerodynamics or something like that. So all you have to do here is then you just click how difficult it was. For me, that was fairly easy, but I'd like to review it, so I'm going to click good. But if it was super easy, I could click easy, which makes it get delayed or deferred further period. And then you just get like the next one. So basically, you just go through this process of going through the cards, showing the answer, clicking how easy it is for you. And as you go through it, you can see the deck size goes down, and then it tells you how many are due, so you can kind of keep up to date. You can see here, I have quite a few that have come up. I think in total, I have about 2,000 flashcards that I used for just the private pilot's written exam here. So you can see how serious I was, and hopefully you can see how much work I put into getting that score. And I was a little disappointed that I missed a few. Actually, in the very end of the exam, I went through all the questions, I reviewed them, and I actually changed one of them to the wrong answer. That was the right answer. So I could have had 99. That's unfortunate, but live and learn. I got to learn an important lesson about the use of life preservers in aircraft flying away from the shore or taking off and landing from the shore. You just need life preservers. I selected an answer that included also water-based ELT and life rafts or something like that. It was really silly. I don't know why I hedged. One thing that you should always keep in mind is a lot of the Transport Canada exams, all of these questions, a lot of the questions, I don't want to say they're designed to trick you, but they do make some very tempting answers. And what you really need to do is just remember your training, remember what you learned. Don't question the knowledge that you've learned. And of course, to not question what you've learned means you really have to focus on practicing all of those questions, doing something like Anki, making flashcards, reviewing, and then once you get really confident with the content, then you can go ahead and hopefully do pretty well on the exam. So that's basically it about the private pilot's written exam. I'm going to be doing the actual flight portion of the test sometime over the next few weeks here, so I'm excited for that. I'm really prepared. Now I know all the knowledge that I need to know to do really well on the exam, so I feel confident about that, and that's really important. I think it's great to finish your written exams before your practical exams if you can, because it just helps so much, and you want to be able to go into the oral portion of the exam and answer any of the questions they might have, whether it be on icing or navigation or something like that. Because last time I did a mock exam, it did not go so great. I felt terrible afterwards, even though I'd gone through all the ground school and I'd studied really hard up until then. That was before I did the flashcards. I just felt totally unprepared. But now that I have the flashcards, I was extremely prepared, and now I'm definitely ready for that oral test. So for all of you who were waiting for quite a long time for me to bring out some videos, like I said, I was super busy studying, so I didn't get any videos done at that time. I was really just focusing hard on getting my study done and doing well in my exam. Now that I've finished it, I do have more time. I'll be able to get out videos a lot more often here. I have a whole bunch of videos of me flying, doing my private pilot's procedures and all of those kinds of things that I'll be releasing. I have some other videos on some just random aviation content. I do have some plans where I'm going to be meeting with some other local flight students in Vancouver. We're going to be talking about different airports and comparing them to see how they look and how it is flying there, because there's a big difference between, for example, flying at Pitt Meadows or Boundary Bay or Abbotsford. You know, we have different weather systems, even though the airports are fairly close together, different levels of busyness, and all other kinds of factors, which I think are really important when you're deciding on where you want to train at. Because, you know, the school might be great, but if it's at a place that isn't very conducive to, you know, good weather and flying, then, you know, that might make your training take a little bit longer. I'm also going to be doing some other stuff on what is happening with my flying, because now that I'm almost wrapping up my PPL, I have to decide on what my next steps will be. And I am talking about that quite a bit on the Discord, so if you haven't joined our amazing Discord community, the link is down in the description below. Go check that out, join, come chat with us about flying, what you're trying to do, and I'm hoping we got all these resources pooling in that channel, so you'll be able to go there and find out hopefully everything you need to know for if you're trying to find a flight school, or if you're currently doing stuff and doing flight training, or if you want to just join us for the aviation study group there and just ask some questions about stuff that you're having trouble with in aviation. Hopefully a bunch of our members will be able to come together and help you out with those questions. So other than that, that's it for today. It's so great seeing everyone after such a long time here. I hope everyone is having an absolutely amazing day. If you're out flying, the weather today isn't particularly great, but if you're flying, I hope you're having a lot of fun and, you know, just flying your best and making sure that you're flying safe. That's one of the most important things. Thank you again for joining me here on my late departure. I look forward to having all of you together with me as I continue on this journey here. And as always, remember, it's never too late. See you next time.